Every April 14th, thousands of citizens commemorate the Second Spanish Republic by pouring through the streets of Madrid. They pack the avenues carrying towering tricolor flags and demanding a truly sovereign state. Listen to their chants, and you'll hear a very specific, modern demand. They want all foreign military bases removed from Spanish soil and a complete exit from NATO. To the people marching, the current government has tethered Spain to aggressive imperialist powers. They argue the nation is being dragged into foreign conflicts that serve absolutely zero domestic interest. The intensity of these demonstrations points to a grievance that goes back decades, rooted in the specific terms of Spain's military alliances and the control of its own territory. 40 years ago, the government held a national referendum to formally define the country's military alliances. To win public support, the state agreed to 3 strict rules. Condition 1 guaranteed Spain would remain outside the NATO military command structure. Condition 2 prohibited any new United States military bases on Spanish soil. And Condition 3 established a total ban on the transit or presence of nuclear weapons within Spanish territory. Today, the government has failed to uphold every single one of those conditions. That reality is exactly what fuels the anger on the streets of Madrid. Those 3 anti-nuclear conditions didn't materialize out of thin air. They were a direct response to a terrifying crisis that occurred in 1966, deep into Francisco Franco's dictatorship. At the height of the Cold War, the U.S. Air Force maintained a massive presence in Spain, constantly routing transit flights and bomber patrols directly through Spanish airspace. The routine patrols ended in disaster when 2 American military planes suffered a catastrophic mid-air collision over the country. The wreckage broke apart, and 4 unexploded nuclear bombs fell from the sky, hurtling toward the ground below. The abstract threat of global thermal conflict had suddenly crashed right into the daily lives of the Spanish public. Those weapons slammed into the earth and the sea right near Palomares, a populated coastal town in the province of Almeria. The United States military had to launch a massive, highly classified recovery effort, physically hauling enormous atomic weapons out of Spanish land and coastal waters. For the citizens watching this unfold, the realization was stark. They were living as collateral damage in a dangerous proxy war they had absolutely no control over. Surviving the Palomares incident shattered any remaining willingness to host foreign militaries. It embedded a deep distrust of foreign intervention permanently into Spain's political DNA. Jump back to the present day, and it becomes clear why those 3 referendum conditions were so important to the Spanish public. The bans on NATO integration, American military bases, and nuclear weapons were all drafted with one clear goal in mind: preventing a second Palomares. When the modern government deepens its integration with NATO, the public sees a deliberate choice to ignore that painful historical lesson. These protests are fueled by a collective memory of the 20th century, a fear that the same vulnerability that led to disaster decades ago is being invited back into the country today. A nuclear accident on Allied soil leaves a double legacy: environmental contamination in the earth and an enduring generational mistrust in the institutions that allowed it to happen. As long as foreign military influence and NATO alignment persist in the country, the anti-imperialist movement will keep the memory of 1966 alive as their primary rallying cry. A nation's foreign policy can never outrun its historical traumas. You can see the proof of that every April as the relentless calls for a sovereign republic ring out across the streets of Madrid.